Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, interesting topic that I want you and I to discuss here. They are making the rounds currently. Keyshawn Davis, Dennis Berinchick, and they're promoting the fight. And of course, as Keyshawn Davis and his team promote the fight, they're going to talk a lot about Gervonta Davis. That has been the mode of operation for most fighters at 135 pounds recently, and I'm not mad at it. It's a play that has worked. They get it out of the top ranked playbook. It has always worked, tying your name to the most popular fighter. And I can't be mad at Keyshawn because I think also he does a masterful job at promoting himself by the way that he talks. So I'm not upset about that. Of course, when they put a mic in front of Bomac'S face, he's going to mention Gervonta Davis as well. They asked him about Tank Davis, and of course, he said that Keyshawn is a great boxer, and in the event that they would meet, it would be entertaining for as long as it lasts, but Keyshawn would ultimately stop Gervonta Davis in the later rounds. Now, he made an interesting face once he made that comment, so I don't think he really meant that in a serious way. But nonetheless, he made the comment, and I thought that was interesting. But the part that was more interesting for me, Jay, and we did a video yesterday about this topic that actually we released this morning. Keyshawn Davis mentioning that Dennis Berinchick is too little. And when we saw them at that opening presser this week, he looked considerably smaller than Keyshawn Davis. And I thought to myself, wow, man, is Dennis just that small, or maybe Keyshawn is just that big? So I looked up the average height of a 135 pounder, and it's between 5'6" and 5'8". Keyshawn Davis supposedly is 5'9", so that makes him a little bit tall for the division. He's about Devin Haney's size. We saw that Devin was way too big to be at 135, and we've seen this a lot lately with fighters just melting themselves down to fight at these lower weight classes and then coming into the ring much bigger. Now, we've heard certain fighters be criticized for this. These fighters that are criticized for this tend to be tied to a specific entity. We've seen Spence supposedly criticized for being a weight bully. We've seen David Benavidez criticized for being a weight bully. But we've never heard anybody say things like Terrence Crawford is a weight bully, although he walks around at 170 pounds, 75 pounds, and was fighting at welterweight and 140. So that just makes me wonder, with Keyshawn, is Keyshawn a weight bully? I started thinking about that, day before yesterday. Like, is Keyshawn a weight bully? Like, is Keyshawn may be big for the division? Well, Bomac essentially confirmed that, Jay, in this interview as he was talking about Gervonta Davis and Keyshawn knocking him out and so forth and so on. He was asked a very straightforward question, and his response was quite interesting. So I'm going to play what he said, and then I want you and I to react to it.
Actually, Gervonta has to fight those guys at that fight. If Keyshawn can't get a fight at 135, will he move up to 140? Teofimo Lopez, he's been calling him out.
He don't need to move up. He don't need to move up, man. Not right now. Just let him take advantage of the weight that he's at right now.
Yeah.
And then just go from there. You know what I'm saying?
Take advantage of the weight that he's at right now. What does that mean, to take advantage of the weight that he's at right now? There's opportunities at this weight class because he's big for the weight class and he can still melt himself down. Dennis Berinchick, as a part of the presser yesterday, mentioned he needs to make weight. He said that over and over and over. He needs to focus on making weight. Keyshawn, I'm starting to believe, is probably naturally a 140 pounder who's melting himself down to 135, then coming into the ring with a considerable weight advantage. Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's real funny on that one. Take advantage, and the funny thing, in fact, it is, the dude was that was asking Bomac. He was like, if Keyshawn can't get the fights at 135, there's a TO fight and others, which he go up to 140. No. So if you can't get the fights you want at 135, and there's good fights at 140, which is one weight class above, why wouldn't you go up for those big money fights and those big play fights? Because there's potential to be a champion at 140 as well, especially when you can't be undisputed at 135 because your brother is also a belt holder at 135.
Yeah.
So that's just lets you know that, hey, I don't want to go up the heavyweights just yet. I want to take advantage here and use my advantages of my height and my size at 135. So that just lets me know, they're doing what they're doing. Bomac knows he ain't no fool. Bomac is slick with it, but he messed up by saying take the advantages at that weight class, because we know what he meant by that. He's big for the class, and Keyshawn, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Keyshawn said he may be all the way go up to 147, 154. He even said before, like, he's kind of big for the weight class. He said Shakur's ceiling is at 135. His is not. So I mean, we'll see how he looks at the weigh-in and how he looks at the fight tomorrow. This fight here kind of reminds me of how a Shakur Oscar Valdez was. How big Shakur was compared to Oscar Valdez, especially when we saw them leading up, and then the weigh-in. Then when he got in the ring, we're like, damn, Shakur ain't no 130 pounder. And I think that's what we're gonna see with Keyshawn. We're gonna look like Keyshawn ain't really a 135 pounder. He's like a 140, 147. So they're definitely using the advantage of his weight.
Yeah. I don't think Bomac and that team over there, tied to Top Rank, get enough credit, specifically Top Rank, get enough credit for the matchmaking that they do, the strategy that they employ. Bomac is basically telling you what the strategy is. The strategy is to fight these fighters at 135, where you have a natural advantage over these fighters. Even a Keyshawn Davis, if he's 5'9", Tank is like 5'5", so you got a natural advantage. Mm-hmm. And then where you wouldn't necessarily have an advantage, hold off on that. Let's wait till that division shakes out in a different way first. Let's see what's there first, and then we move you up. It was something similar with Terrence Crawford. It's being very strategic in how you're moving. Now, Crawford is a great fighter. I don't take anything away from Crawford.
Yeah,
but
great fighter.
But people don't want to acknowledge that there is a lot of strategy associated with this, and making sure that you're matching your fighter with another fighter at the right moment. When they first moved up, Terrence Crawford moved up to 147, Bomac explicitly said that they weren't interested in fighting Spence at that moment for a reason. It is about matching your fighters with the other fighters at the right moment. And there's nothing wrong with that, but let's acknowledge it and not pretend that it doesn't exist. Bomac is a master at making sure that his fighters are being matched up with other fighters at the right time, at the right moment. Now, does it mean that his fighter is always going to win? No. But what he's trying to do is maximize the opportunity of his fighter to win.
That's exactly what they're doing. I mean, I'm not going to just say it's exclusive to Bomac, because other fighters, other trainers do it as well, to be fair. Companies do that as well. They talk about Top Rank specifically talks about how well they matchmake, how well they're matchmaking, and we've seen their matchmaking. There's been a lot of blowouts. It's not a lot of upsets. That's one thing I will say about Pro Box TV. That's where they're cutting their teeth at, is trying to make 50-50 fights over there at Pro Box TV. That's what they want. And that's what we really want to see. We want to see close fights. I mean, and to be fair, we know Tank hasn't been in 50-50, but it's also how good Tank is as well. So he's fought people in the top 5 in his division. Some other fighters have not done so.
Yeah. You guys let us know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, on Sports Media, and we are out.